Recently, I came across a funny illustration that had been posted on Reddit showing 6 ways to divide Virginia. And let me tell you, once you see it, you might not think of the state the same way again. And some of these divisions are hilarious because, well, they're kind of true.
Yeah, I can't argue with that.
So if you're thinking about moving to Virginia, you'd better know which part of the state fits your style. So whether you're looking to move here to the Commonwealth or just a resident here that wants to chime in with your thoughts, buckle up because we're about to slice up Virginia like you might never have seen it before. But before we do all that, let's go ahead and get started right now. Hi, my name's Stephen. Along with my wife Leslie, we are local real estate agents here in the Shenandoah Valley and Charlottesville areas of Virginia, and it's our honor to help folks all the time, just like you, who've watched our YouTube videos and have called us, texted us, or emailed us, and just it's been a pleasure and an honor to help so many folks to find a home or to sell their home. And maybe that's you right now. We'd love to help you as well. Check out our information in the description below so we can do just that. Additionally, if you like our channel, if you like going into different neighborhoods and different festivals, but just having a little fun too, like in today's video, we'd love it if you click that subscribe button, touch that bell icon so you don't miss a minute of Virginia Mountain Valley living and all the crazy things that we sometimes do. All right, so let's have a little fun here and let's dive into the first of the 6 maps that divides Virginia. Now, this one keeps it simple with 4 regions: the beautiful mountains, suburban hellscape, Farmville, and the Dismal Swamp. I mean, it's like someone looked at the state and thought, okay, we've got mountains that you want to move to, traffic you want to avoid, farmland you might get lost in, and, well, a swamp. And honestly, they weren't far off. So let's start with the beautiful mountains, which is where Leslie and I, it's our home. And honestly, in my humble opinion, it's the best area of Virginia. Now, this stretch here on this map of Virginia never gets old, from Winchester in the north all the way to Bristol at the southern tip. It's the kind of place where the scenery alone will stop you in your tracks. The Blue Ridge and Allegheny Mountains frame the Shenandoah Valley and the Piedmont areas of Virginia, but with rolling ridges. And in the fall, the colors turn the whole place into a postcard. And trust me, if you've never experienced it, well, you just have to see it for yourself. Additionally, outdoor recreation is the heartbeat of this region. Shenandoah National Park, the Blue Ridge Parkway, the Appalachian Trail. I mean, it's all right here. I mean, if you like hiking, if you like fishing, if you like kayaking, or just sitting on a porch with a mountain view, this is one of the places where you'll get the closest to paradise on this side of eternity. But the beautiful mountains aren't just about the outdoors. The communities here have a friendly small town vibe that's really hard to beat. And whether it's local farmers markets, local festivals, or high school football on Friday night, there's a strong sense of connection. And for those who love to kick back and relax, this area is a treasure trove with dozens of wineries, cideries, and craft breweries. I mean, they just pepper the region. Plus, vineyards offering tastings with breathtaking mountain views. You can spend your weekends hopping between wine trails, craft beer spots, and local harvest festivals, all while taking in the beautiful views of the mountains above and the valleys below. The pace of life is slower, but in the best way. It's relaxing, not sleepy. You can still find vibrant small cities like Harrisonburg, Stanton, Charlottesville, or the larger city of Roanoke, each with its own restaurants, breweries, and culture. Here, people value quality of life over the grind, and it's something that you can both feel and see. And now, let's head north to what the map calls the suburban hellscape, which is Northern Virginia. Now, anyone who spent more than 15 minutes on I-95 or the Beltway knows exactly why it earned that nickname. Traffic can be brutal, and commuting, it really is practically a lifestyle in itself. And if you add in the cost of living that rivals many other major metropolitan areas, you can quickly see why people call it expensive and they call it a rat race. The housing market here is competitive, fast moving, and it's also expensive. And if you thought it couldn't get any crazier, the population has been booming. According to census data, back in 1990, the population of Northern Virginia was about 1.46 million people. Well, fast forward 30 years to 2020, and the population grew an incredible 74% to over 2.6 million. That's a lot of growth. And I mean, it's also a lot of people, right? And it just shows how many people are willing to brave traffic, high prices, and the hustle and bustle just to live here. Now, you know, Leslie and I lived in Nova, as it's called, throughout most of the 90s. And trust me, it wasn't really good back then as far as being busy and hectic. But now, well, let's just say that Virginia's beautiful mountains and valleys is where we would have preferred to live even back in the 90s. But it's not all bad news. I mean, people have flocked to the area for many reasons. Northern Virginia is one of the economic engines of the state with incredible job opportunities in government, military contracting, and especially the tech sector. The schools are consistently ranked among the best in the state, and the diversity of the population brings an energy that's hard to find anywhere else. From shopping at Tyson's Corner to concerts at Wolf Trap to historic towns like Alexandria, there's always something to do. It's also a food lover's dream, with every type of cuisine you could imagine. So, while the suburban hellscape can definitely wear you down with long commutes and high prices, it also offers access to world-class opportunities and amenities you won't find anywhere else in Virginia. And next we head into Farmville. And no, I don't just mean the college town with the same name, though it's a neat little spot, but on this map, Farmville covers much of central and southern Virginia. It's a region of contrasts. On one end, you have Richmond, a capital city that's buzzing with growth, history, and culture from the Civil War. From battlefields to the James River Rapids, things that are running right through downtown Richmond, it blends old and new in a way that's uniquely Virginian. There's an incredible food scene and craft breweries, art galleries, and a calendar full of festivals. But when you step outside the city limits, most of this area shifts to a rural way of life. Rolling farmland, small towns, and wide open spaces define the landscape of this area of Virginia. Agriculture is still a major part of the economy, from tobacco and soybeans to cattle and poultry. In some communities, though, however, economic challenges are real. Jobs can be harder to come by, and young people often move to bigger cities for opportunities. But that doesn't mean that these areas lack the charm and affordability and a sense of community that can be hard to find in busier regions. The pace here isn't just slower, it's steadier. And for people who don't need mountains or ocean views, the Farmville of Virginia offers a quiet and just a kind of beauty and a practical lifestyle that appeals to a lot of folks. And finally, we make our way to the Dismal Swamp. Now, this one's not just a funny name. There's also a literal swamp in this area. The Great Dismal Swamp stretches southeast of the city of Suffolk all the way into North Carolina, and it's one of the largest and most mysterious wetlands on the East Coast. With its cypress trees, canals, and diverse wildlife, it's a nature lover's dream, and yes, it can be a little dismal in its own way. But this region is so much more than just a swamp itself. I mean, it includes some of Virginia's largest and most dynamic cities: Norfolk, Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, Newport News, Hampton. All of these are in that area. And Virginia Beach, for example, is a tourist magnet with its boardwalk, oceanfront, and endless summer activity. Chesapeake and Newport News blend suburban living with access to waterways and natural areas. And this is also where Virginia's great rivers, the Potomac, the James, and the Rappahannock, they empty into the Chesapeake Bay. And the result? An area defined by its relationship to its water. Daily life, commerce, and recreation, it all blends together. From kayaking the waterways to catching fresh seafood straight from the bay, the coastal lifestyle here is one of a kind, and while parts of the Dismal Swamp region are, well, swampy, right? The rest is anything but dismal. All right, so moving on to our second map, and this one is less about geography and more about, well, grammar. According to this map, Virginia is divided into just two groups: Northern Virginia, where people say you guys, and the rest of the state where it's y'all. And honestly, there's a lot of truth to this map. You see, y'all isn't just a word, it's a way of life. Down here, it's friendly, it's efficient, and it covers every possible situation. Y'all hungry? Y'all ready? Bless y'all's hearts. I mean, it just works. But up in Northern Virginia, with its suburban sprawl and its Starbucks to person ratio, you guys has largely taken over. Maybe it's because of the influence of DC, maybe it's the flood of transplants from other states, or maybe it's just hard to say y'all when you're stuck in traffic for 3 hours on I-95. But either way, the difference between the areas, well, not totally perfect. Of course, y'all's all over the place here in Virginia, but it's like in some ways, like the Mason-Dixon line of pronouns just runs straight through Virginia. All right, so let's move on to map number 3, y'all. According to this map, most of Virginia is labeled Virginia, and then there's this one corner way down around Bristol and Abington marked as not Virginia. Now, why would someone call that part not Virginia? Well, first off, if you live there, you're closer to Tennessee and North Carolina than you are to Richmond. And in fact, Bristol literally shares a main street, State Street, with Tennessee on one side of the road and Virginia on the other side of the road. I mean, it's part of the state where country music, I mean, it has deep roots down in that part of the state. Appalachian culture thrives as well. And the accent is sometimes just a little thicker than you'll hear in most parts of the state. So every now and then, folks joke that Southwest Virginia feels like its own little world, more than Appalachian. It's more Appalachian than Virginian, I guess we should say. Now, economically and culturally, it's also different. Coal country shaped a lot of this region's history, and even today, the economy here sometimes looks more like West Virginia than it does the rest of Virginia. Now, there's other things that's done down there, but in addition to that, because of its proximity to Tennessee, you're likely to find more folks wearing the orange of the Tennessee Volunteers rather than the orange of the Virginia Cavaliers. Add in the mountains, the isolating communities, and I mean, you can just see why some people argue this area just doesn't quite fit with the rest of Virginia. But honestly, its uniqueness is exactly what makes it special. Now, mind you, not as special as the Shenandoah Valley and the Piedmont of Virginia, according to Stephen, but still special nonetheless. But really, many Virginians would likely have drawn another line on this map, and that's the Northern Virginia area. Well, why is that? Well, if you ask pretty much anyone south or west of Fredericksburg, they'll roll their eyes and tell you Nova isn't Virginia at all. It's basically just Washington, D.C. You know, the place where all the politics, lobbyists, and traffic jams get stored up in that part of the state. For some people, Nova is seen as so different from the rest of the Commonwealth that they might as well call it its own state. And honestly, with the number of DC commuters up there, maybe they're onto something. But hey, you guys when you do move out into the country, you know, to experience the good life, you know, let Leslie or me know, and we'll be happy to help you find a home so you can experience the peaceful life out here in Virginia's beautiful mountains and valleys. All right, let's move on to map number 4, tourists versus just locals. Well, according to this one, Virginia basically has 2 giant magnets that pull in visitors, Shenandoah National Park and the Williamsburg Historic Corridor. Now, the rest of the state, well, that's just us locals doing our thing. Now, Shenandoah National Park is no surprise here, with Skyline Drive and trails like Old Rag Mountain, Stony Man, and of course the Appalachian Trail. And of course you get those sweeping Blue Ridge mountain views. I mean, it's just the kind of place where you'll find some locals out for a quiet drive along with tourists fumbling with their selfie sticks at the rare sighting of a black bear wandering by. But when the leaves change, the park fills up like a Walmart on Black Friday. And that's usually when locals steer away because honestly, the views are just as breathtaking from the valley below without sitting in a Skyline Drive traffic jam above. But One of the great things about living in Virginia, beautiful mountains and valleys, is that you've got some of the most beautiful places in the country right in your backyard. But like I say, you don't have to go and put up with traffic that's all over, like in Yellowstone or some of these big parks. And the congestion that goes along with it, it's just not here. Maybe up in the park sometimes, but it's just not here. Except if you decide to go in the park in October. And if you do, well, I mean, that's on you. But it'd still be a lot of fun. But anyway, on the other side of the state, the Williamsburg area is a different kind of draw. Less hiking boots and more tricorn hats. This area is basically a time machine into colonial Virginia, complete with cannon blasts, powdered wigs, and sometimes busloads of kids chasing down ice cream cones after a Revolutionary War reenactment. And when you've had your fill of history, there's Busch Gardens with its roller coasters, plus outlet malls, where half the tourists ended up buying stuff that they didn't really know they needed. But like I say, in all seriousness, Williamsburg and Yorktown are more than tourist stops. They're some of the most important historical sites in the country where the story of America's independence is brought to life in a new way that you just can't experience it anywhere else. Now, of course, Virginia Beach or even Northern Virginia could have made this map of tourist draws as well. The beach with its boardwalk crowds, and Northern Virginia with all the monuments and museums right across the river from DC are just heavily visited by people from all over the world. So any way you look at it, not only is Virginia for lovers, but it's also got some incredible spots for tourists as well. And of course, there's still plenty of room for us locals too. All right, well, since I mentioned Williamsburg, we might as well go ahead and go to our next map, which divides Virginia into colonial reenactors, Civil War reenactors, and places that haven't actually changed since colonial times. First up, colonial reenactors. Of course, that's down by Williamsburg, and as I just mentioned, it's full of folks in tri-cornered hats, long coats, and waistcoats, marching around with muskets, doing an incredible job of preserving Virginia's history. Williamsburg is steeped in colonial everything. Architecture, food, demonstrations of blacksmithing, colonial dances. You name it, it's there. And the reenactors there, they don't just play colonial, they live colonial. It embodies everything that they do, from their daily chores to the serious history behind the founding of America. Now, of course, we could probably add Northern Virginia with Mount Vernon and plenty of colonial history that could be found there as well. Then there are the Civil War reenactors who show up all over Virginia. Battlefields, historic parks, memorial sites, places like Sailor's Creek just outside Farmville. Yes, this time it's the town of Farmville, where they assemble outside of town at Sailor's Creek Battlefield State Historic Park. At different times during the year, this park hosts living events with camps, uniforms, drills, and sometimes mock battles. Now, over time, some events in the state have been discontinued, but you can still find them, and in the last few years, there seems to have been a comeback with the amount of reenactors wishing to participate. But finally, for the hasn't actually changed since colonial times, this is obviously a poke at Virginia's eastern shore and, the Virginia part of the Delmarva Peninsula, where in some places it feels like time slows down. But really, wide marshes, old churches mixed with farmland, fishing boats, seafood shacks, and island life is some of what you'll find here. The pace, the look, the traditions, it's rustic, and some of its traditions are largely unchanged. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't visit. And when you do, one of the places you have to go is Assateague Island, home of the wild ponies made famous in Marguerite Henry's book, Mystery of Chincoteague. It's one of the coolest traditions that takes place only one time a year, is Pony Penning Day. And that's when they swim the many horses from Assateague Island across the 200-yard wide channel to Chincoteague Island, where they are auctioned off, with some being taken home by the owners and some being named and released back onto Assateague Island. I remember when our girls were young and Leslie and I took them to the island, and we saw the island there, and then we went to Pony Penning Day. And let's just say that, it's a really special memory. So yes, the area has changed, okay? But many people might see certain traditions and things as never having changed, and that's what gives this area its own unique flavor. Well, that leaves us with only one map left. And according to this one, Virginia can be divided into 4 categories: rednecks, soccer moms, college students, and the Navy. First off, the big section, rednecks. Now let's be honest, that's just about the entire map. Now, depending on who you ask though, redneck can mean a few different things. Around here, it might mean you drive a truck with mud tires, you've got at least one camo hat, and you think a great night out is heading to the county fair. But the truth is this, it's just a small town Virginia life feel. Mostly hardworking folks, families who know their neighbors, you know, Friday night football games, church on Sunday, and maybe a little hunting or fishing in between. So yeah, call it redneck if you want, but we just call it home. And now up in Northern Virginia and around Richmond, the map swaps out rednecks for soccer moms. You know the type. Minivans lined up at practice, an espresso in hand, and a calendar that's somehow fuller than the Pentagon's. And while it's easy to poke fun at the soccer moms, I used to be up kind of one myself when I coached my 2 girls' soccer teams. Now, I didn't have an espresso, and my daytimer, and if you know what a daytimer is, you're in my generation, I guess, but it wasn't as full as the soccer moms, but nonetheless, it was a great opportunity for recreation and activity in Northern Virginia. I mean, there's literally scores of athletic and recreational opportunities there in the area, but hey, my time as a soccer dad is done. So I'll leave it all to all of you soccer moms out there, and I'll just enjoy life here in Virginia's beautiful mountains and valleys. Then, we've got the college students. 2 spots on the map marked for the University of Virginia in Charlottesville and Virginia Tech down in Blacksburg. And that makes sense. Both towns have a huge college life footprint. Saturdays are filled with tailgates, football games, coffee shops are buzzing with laptops and late night study sessions. And downtowns pulse with music and food. Of course, the map could have also added a lot more dots. James Madison University, George Mason, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, Virginia is packed with prominent colleges and universities. And that means that you have educational opportunities all over the state if you wish to take advantage of them. Now, finally, the Navy in the Tidewater region. Norfolk is the home of the world's largest naval base, which anchors not just Virginia, but America's presence around the globe. Thousands of sailors and their families call this area home, but the Navy's impact, it can be felt everywhere in the area, from the local economy to housing needs to the pride of our men and women who serve. I mean, it can be found in the Tidewater area. And right alongside the Navy is Virginia's public port of entry. It's one of the busiest on the East Coast. It's not just vital to Virginia's economy, but to the entire country, moving cargo, goods, and resources that really just keep America running. So there you have it, 6 different ways to slice up Virginia. Now, if you live here, you've got to admit, some of them are funny, and some might be just a little too spot on. But all of them gives us a little reminder of just how unique Virginia really is. So, if you're already a resident, I'd love to hear which slice you're in or you'd like to be in. And if you're thinking about moving here, well, maybe this gave you a head start on figuring out where you'll feel right at home. But one thing's for sure, if you're moving to Virginia or you're already here, Leslie and I would be more than happy to help. Whether it's to sell your home or to buy a home, all of our information is in the description below, and it would be our honor to help you, just like it has been our honor to have helped so many other folks looking to find a place on the map to call home. So don't hesitate to reach out to allow us to help. And who knows, maybe you'll find your niche right here in Virginia, no matter how you slice it up. Or maybe the next map will have a whole new category just for you. But until next time, I'll see you around town.